People power is working. Oh, people power is working. And it's funny, I haven't seen an issue. Maybe if I want to measure anger, I think this is probably the one with the, if anger were measured in decibels, this is probably the loudest, because things have annoyed people, right? So, for example, the Napo thing, people got angry, but it was because it's partisan politics. Some people's anger was muted; they were just disappointed. But on the issue of this LI to allow MPs, ministers, deputies, and Supreme Court judges to drive without speed limits, I think I've not seen an outpouring of anger like this in a long time. Which is why I asked people to tell me why they were angry. And a lot of people connected. And for me, what makes me happy is people connect the dots. So they're saying it's not just the fact that you want to be treated special. It's the fact that you don't even see that the traffic you want to avoid is something we go through every day. You get it? So if there's one issue that unites Ghanaians and that expresses the way we feel about our leaders collectively, I think the traffic thing was it. So we are all in traffic. Some of us are waiting for Trotsky. Some of us are in Trotsky. Some of us are in Bolt, Uber, taxi, or private cars. We are all in the lane. Then you say, we should let you pass because your work is more important and you're better. Now, that's not bad enough. What makes it worse is that the traffic that is there is because of your ineptitude. Either there's potholes in the road or you've not come up with a proper transportation system. And you now want to circumvent that and give to yourself the power to drive. you get it? So it's like you have your dereliction in not solving the road issue. Your dereliction or ineptitude in not dealing with the urban mess of not a proper functioning transport system. You can't even have a simple bus system. Tanzania has a BRT that works. They have tram lines. You have not able to implement a simple urban transport solution. Then to add insult to injury, you go and meet and say you want to pass a law to give you the right to put a siren on your expensive car that you bought at the expense of the taxpayer, and then you want to now drive without a speed limit. You see, so this one unites everybody from the fisherman, the farmer, the unemployed, to even the high and mighty who are not in political office. And I think politicians should use this as a serious warning. The anger I saw yesterday, even at a program I attended, people accused me and say, but you didn't play my voice, you didn't talk to, you didn't let me call. What kind of nonsense is that? What is that? Hey, bro, I'm just on air. I said, no. Politicians and our duty bearers should be very careful. They should be very careful because you see, these things, they are tempting people. You are already doing things we don't like. You are not giving us simple, we don't even have simple, proper. Look, today when I was coming to work, I got to Circle. 2 of the Alolo buses, one was in the 3rd lane, one was in the 2nd lane. We can't even dedicate a lane to buses. So people who want to even take a bus from Amasaman to Accra have to sit in a trotro, which a lot of which are not even fit for purpose. You don't go to any serious country and sit in such things that we call trotro here. But we've tolerated that. Then you go to places, there's all kinds of potholes. So you are driving and you get to a point, there's a long hold up. Not because of anything, it's because there's a pothole. Yeah. You are driving from Dowenya to Accra. You get to Barrier. There's a big gully there. Okay, then you can't move. You get to Dansoman Junction. For a long time, there was traffic there. Now there's one at Achimota. So when you pass under the overhead and you are going towards La Paz, you take a left, or you are coming from, N1 into Tesano. Just unnecessary things. You go through all of this. We've complained, we've not listened. Now you want to go and sit in parliament and say that we shall allow you to put a siren on your car. So you do, and they even do it now. When we started war against indiscipline, they were cutting, and sometimes they would drive against traffic. They would drive against traffic, shine their highlights on you because you are a lower citizen. And we should sit down and pay you to do such nonsense. And when the alarm blows, you say it was NDC, MPPC, NDC, NDCC, MPP. Shame on you. Shame. Shame for your insensitivity. You are out of touch with the ordinary Ghanaian. You have no idea what people go through. The car you are driving is more expensive than a chips compound. If we melted all the V8s that you were driving, we can build a chips compound in each district. Isn't it? How much do you sell a V8? Isn't it $80,000?
More than that.
How much did it cost us to build that thing at Mepe? It wasn't that much. You get it? So if you look at all those V8s moving, how often do you even use it? When we say, oh, let's have a full set of 4-wheel drives so you can all drive normal cars. Most of you live in Accra Monday to Friday. You go for funerals over the weekend. You can use pool cars to do it. No, everybody has got their V8. It's too simple. So now if you arrive somewhere and you don't have a 4-wheel drive, you are not a big man. A society that still has people who go to school under trees, that has people who don't have access to healthcare. Fredo did the story. People are still crossing rivers to go to school. You do all of this. We haven't complained. Then you now say you should allow you to pass a law to equate you with the president, the vice president, and the speaker of parliament and CJ. How? We've put a law in Ghana. Okay, fine. President is president. We don't have a problem. Vice president, no issue. Speaker, no problem. CJ, cool. Police, okay. Ambulance, they want to save us. I have no problem with an ambulance because, you know what happens when people are dying.
Yeah.
In Ghana, somebody is dying. We put him in a taxi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A taxi. And rush the person to a hospital. Taxi. You get it? Then, and sometimes the ambulance don't even have petrol. And sometimes you need to call people before you can even get access to one. I have a friend. He told me he wasn't going to come back. I said, why? I said, Charlie, he said someday they were in the house at 2 a.m. and his son couldn't breathe. He didn't know what to do. He called, I don't know, he said, I think the guy was like 4 years old. He called 911. He said, Aloski, the people came to my house, came to take the boy to the hospital that night. And the boy is still alive today. He said, Charlie, maybe the work I'm doing there may not be good though. But when I think about these things, when I think about these things, say, Charlie, Ghana, you even call, they won't even mind, the nurse will even be rude to you. And all of this is because the system we've built only favors the rich. Then you, an MP, who's supposed to be a rep of the people, or you, a minister. The word minister is an ancient English word. It means servant. That's what the minister is. If you read the Bible, the context of minister is not master. To minister is to serve. That's what ministry means. Ministry is service. In Ghana, ministry means big man. How can you develop with such a mindset? You get it? Then now, we should allow you. I went to Akosombo in May. Sky, I spent maybe an hour and a half from Atimpoku to the new dual carriage they did after Afienya or before Afienya. Between Afienya and Tema, I spent more time than I spent between that whole so for like a 6-kilometer journey, I spent more time than I spent on a 60-kilometer journey because the road is that some way. Then the community to traffic potholes in Kwa. How much does it take to even say, oh, let's go and grade it and level it? It's because they don't feel, it's not difficult. They don't feel what you feel. So now, because of that insensitivity, now they want to add insult to injury. If everybody, as you said, like they do in the UK, everybody sits in the public transport and will go through the same traffic, when they go in parliament, they will think deeply. I'm telling you. Why do you think when we come here, we think? It's because of what we go through. You cannot think about what you don't experience.
Right.
If you go to a lot of countries, the public servants use the public transport system. In Ghana, we've created a different transport system for our public servants, our political class. Having a guzzling V8 is a status symbol. So even a normal director at a ministry, director for PPSD, PPMJ, all the car parks, every car is fuel diesel V8. In a country which is broke, that took a debt exchange to take 8 billion of our cedis to solve a problem a government created, that is begging for debt exchange. Everybody is still driving a V8 in that area. Won't you auction it and use the money to do something better? If you want to pay for debt, is it my money that I've kept at the bank that I have saved for 6 years that you go and give a haircut to? We've kept quiet on all this. Now you want to sign a law. The proponent of the law and all the people behind it, they must be sacked. I'm telling you. Sky, we have to. Ghanaians have risen up, and it's small. First it was SNIT. Say, oh, they will sell everybody. You see, people think that when they assume political office, all of a sudden they have more wisdom than those who are not in political office. Winning an election doesn't automatically give you more sense. Oh. Do you understand? Like, it doesn't happen like that. Like, you've won an election. No, it means that when you say something, it makes sense. Or you are in power, so it means you are sensible. When you are in power, it should make you humble to listen to people. Do you get it? Being in power doesn't equate to being sensible. So it means that now your policy makes sense. So you will do something. The Utah calls it collective wisdom. Can all of us be wrong? Everybody saying the thing you are doing it's not, even if it's not illegal, it's not right. So, write letter. No. See, humble pie. There you are. When they started calling the strike, then now you stopped it. Now you want to pass. Now they are saying it's NDC, MPPC, NDC. You didn't know it was. Why? Was it not last week that we broke the story? Isn't it you who read the thing on air? If you read it, it was on social media and you came on and said, no, there's something that's happening in Ghana. Then the speaker said they didn't know about it. So if you knew about it, would you have stopped it? If you knew about it, people were not angry. You see? So it means now the leaders know that the things they are doing, they are wrong, but they gauge the public mood.
Yeah.
So we won't relax. We won't relax because if you melt sky, we built hospitals, so I know the cost. You went to communities, Seva. Cool. People were helpless after just water level rising. It takes a very little dislocation for poor people to have nothing.
Yeah.
Somebody's farm gets flooded, no food for 1 month. Somebody's house gets flooded. That means that he has to go and sleep at a different house for weeks. We don't know what the people go through. We go to their funerals, we campaign to get their votes. After that, we treat them with disdain. You go and sit in parliament and you go and contemplate such an obnoxious law to allow you, because you are being embarrassed, because you are being arrested for why? Do you know the time we wake up to come to work? Do you know the time people who do you know how early some nurses get up to go to work? Do you know how early some teachers get to work to be able to mark for your kids to get an education? Then you want to go early. And when we've caught you, you are shifting blame. You say, we are sorry. We've lost touch with the people. Forgive us. When Richie Sunak lost the election, what did he say? Have you ever heard a Ghanaian politician lose an election and apologize before? So, it was the propaganda of the opposition that made them win.
They stole the election.
That's all we do. So we have to hold our leaders account. When we reject your policies because you have failed, don't make it look like somebody lied or something. You get it? Then you can announce it. Rishi Sunak is apologizing. The people have spoken. The people are speaking and they will speak. So you keep fooling them. People will speak. Yes. Yes. Keep doing it. Do you know how much it costs to maintain you in office? That thing you are doing, that law you are allowing to pass, 24 of you went to parliament. We have a serious lithium law to pass. 275 of you, only 24 of you went there. Do you know how much it costs to build that office that you are sitting in? Do you know how many teachers that money can pay? Then 24 of you show up. If your children's school, 24 out of 275 teachers went to school, will you be happy?
They said they were within the precincts.
Even if 47 of you, 47 out of 240, that's still how many percent?
They were within the precincts.
If the attendance in hospitals was 10%, can we have a country? And you members of parliament, the day they wanted to sign the bill, 24 of you were sitting in that chamber. And you are not shy, you are not getting up to say we should give you a law to allow you to drive without traffic. We have to be serious with the country. The country is a serious place. This is the only country we have. Let's not treat the country as if you do all these things, then you think you can use propaganda to confuse anybody. How do you contemplate such a bad law? Listen to the man speaking to Sanda.
No blow.
It's okay.
I'm an effort.
Yo.
If you let me ask you.
More fire.
This is Umaru Sanda interviewing and I'm not personalizing the issue. I'm saying that politicians must understand the public anger.
Yes, sir.
And don't wonder why we are angry. If you lose touch with people, this is what will happen. You are out of touch with the reality. You are out of touch with the reality on the ground. Get down from your high horses and listen to the people. Listen to the people. Stop making everything about politics and elections. You cannot. To contemplate such a law tells me your disdain for your citizens. I'm telling you. Even Kenya, only the president and vice president has that privilege. Then you want to calculate 275 MPs, another 78 or 90 ministers.
Well, the majority of them are members of parliament.
So let's even say 60. That's another 320. Then add CJ, Supreme Court judge, about 15. So there'll be 400 or even 300 sirens every morning in this small space called Accra. Because it's the same area. What's the point? Traffic lights are not working. Potholes are there. There's no street light. I was at a program yesterday and they were giving a security briefing because there were foreigners there. Do you know what the guy said? He says, this city is dark at night. So when if you don't walk at night and when you are driving, be careful. This is what they were telling foreigners at a program I went to yesterday. I was the MC, so I'm saying this on authority. The guy said Accra is dark at night, so don't walk, don't mess around in the night because nobody will see you. A car can even hit you, don't know. That darkness you see in Accra at night is because of the darkness in our soul, in our heart. I'm telling you that you can't provide light, and you say because thieves steal it. Why isn't there light in your house? Why don't thieves steal down? Don't thieves steal cars too? So why do you drive your car? It's because of dereliction. Stop confusing the issue. You drive on high quality streets. It's because we shouted before they even weeding the streets medians. We shouted on air for somebody to weed a median. Meanwhile, people go to assembly every day. What? And we say because we have elections, we have a great democracy, everything is fine. People are demanding more everywhere.
Thank you.
Let's wake up and lead properly and stop this unnecessary politics. Chiefs, when they come to you, there's some chief that Baumia went to. He said, Onukwa, you came and said you were going to do a road. Please, where is the road?
Yes.
That's what we expect. Not, we are the son of the soul. We'll vote for you. What is that? You are failing the people. Tell them the truth. They will think about it and they will do it. Some chiefs are stepping up. Gamanche, super.
Yeah.
Doing cleanup. We need more of that. Where they will speak for the people. Gamanche says, let's clean the city.
Yeah.
Leadership failure is many levels. If politicians are failing us, why are chiefs also failing us? Pastors, when they come, speak the truth. Let the Spirit lead you to say corruption must end. If you give him front seat, let him sit there. But let him feel fire. Don't let him sit there and change the sermon to make him happy. And tell him that you vote for him because he's from your hometown. God will punish you for that. Speak the truth to him. Tell him that your leadership is not good. And if you don't change, God will judge you. That's what you should do. Then you come and say, hey, this church, they are fire. But you tell them that, Charlie, let me see you in the corner. My daughter has to go to police. Can you sort her out? What kind of leadership is that? That's the leadership failure. That perpetuates. So when you, the pastor, or you, the chief, you refuse to tell him that thing, then he now feels that what he does is right. Because people like it. And then you confuse your audience. Because on one day you preach virtue, you practice vice. So you are perpetuating. So you see how society gets destroyed. So in all of this, how do you have a whole city with no street light? And yet MPs and ministers want to drive. They want to drive with sirens. It's because we've allowed it.
People.
You get it? So we need more leaders to step up. You see what Gamanche is doing? Now he's in the street doing cleanup. That's what you do. So now he's using his convening power and his influence to bring development. We need more. So the politicians will visit the chiefs. Please, when they come, or tell me, when you see, meet and decide what to say. Don't just come and say, we like you. You are destined to lead. No, we don't need to say that. Let them know what the people feel. Do you know? So that they will go and think about their policies. Let's not endorse this type of thing. It took anger to stop this. It took public angst to stop this. Imagine if we all came and say, it's nothing. They are leaders. They have to drive. They have to go to work. They would have passed it. And that would have been our failure as the public conscience, because we sit here not to do what we want. We sit here to reflect the mood of the people. And the leaders must know that people are angry. When they meet you, what do they say to you? Sometimes they even accost you as if you are part of the problem. That you are allowing them to get off too easy. When they come, pin them down. Why are they saying we should pin them down? Because their rhetoric doesn't match with their actions. So they feel frustrated. They come and speak good English and they go and do that wrong. They go and sit in corner, good committee meeting, then they cook something. Then next thing you know, they've passed it.
Yeah.
Then when they ask the speaker, he said, I didn't know. When they ask the leader, he said, I didn't know. So you all didn't know. You all didn't know. And yet it took Sky. How did you get this story? A friend of mine from Cats, and I'll review this today. He sent me the extract and I sent it to Richard Sky and I said, I don't understand these laws. He read it and said, this is bad. Then he came on there to speak. So it was Apia who sent the thing to me and I sent it to him. And he said, this thing they want to do, 94, something, 90, 166, something is wrong. He used pen to mark. Then he went on air to speak about it. Then everybody started getting angry. Imagine, they would have smuggled this thing quietly and we'll be sitting here. Let this be a warning to our politicians. Let this be a warning to our MPs that you cannot take the people for granted for too long. We know our right. We are not fools. So do the right thing. When you attend parliament, where are you going? You move heaven and earth to become MP. Then you don't want to attend a parliament. Do you know the things they do to get into parliament?
Want to do business.
Campaign and things now, 24 of you. It's a disgrace. 24 of you. The speaker should summon the leadership. How did only, even it's 47? Where are the rest of the people? Isn't that where they work? Isn't parliament their work? How do you get a parliament where less than 50 MPs are in the chamber? What are they doing? And there's no anger that less than 50 MPs are in parliament. Okay, so why don't you reduce the number of parliament to 50? You are politicians, they are going to increase the number of seats because somebody will go and create new districts. They will get to 300 MPs or whatever. And you go and sit there and decide when you pick and choose when to go to parliament. When there's budget, you go and stand there, hold slogans and you shout. When you have to do things that will help us, you don't want to go. Then you say we are attacking parliament. Why shouldn't we attack you? You need to step up. You need to step up your game. Seriously. We are not happy at all. I'm channeling the collective frustration of the people. This is not just about me. You should go out and let people talk to you about how they feel about this country. And instead of standing there to take the executive, you have Bonnie who to say plaster. You have become one with the executive. You have a legislative role. You have a what's the third one? You said that. You said there are 3 roles. What are they?
Well, you know the one who said that if you cannot coordinate integrity.
I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
So now they are.
I didn't mean it like that.
Integrity.
I didn't mean it like that. That's not what I said.
Oh my word.
What kind of life is that? I'll bring the interview later. Help me pay some bills. As my mother said, today should be the last day you try such a thing. Now, we need to set people to be looking at the parliamentary laws. Seriously speaking, Sky, you need to train journalists who can catch these things before they get the you destroy it at incubation stage. Set some of your journalists to be looking into the thing well, because they will smuggle the thing inside. LI for speed. The cheek of it.
We have bought V8 for him. We fuel the V8. He doesn't buy fuel with his money. He doesn't pay electricity bills. He pays nothing. Today he is complaining about tiredness from loss of time and sitting in traffic. Look, the MPs should not bring themselves. Look, we are already hot in the system. They should not bring themselves.
Bernard, this law simpliciter is seeking to take the MPs out of the realities that we face. And if you do that to your leaders, what kind of development are you going to get? If they are always going to go and not feel what we go through, what sort of transport policy would they promulgate? And any bogus policy that comes before their table, they'll be happy to sign it. They will not even think through because they are not part of the problem. They only get out and realize that, we could have solved it this way. But as soon as we vote for people, then we take them out of our reality and yet want them to solve it. Look at the cars they ride and everything they go through. Because of VA, they don't even feel the potholes. And we give them accommodation and what have you. And yet you want them to feel what we feel on a daily basis. It will only further aggravate the situation and to give you more headache. Because come and sit on air and lament. And speak and speak and speak and the problem never gets solved. Thank you. Moses here.
The last guy, why this unfortunate justification for the sirens and disturbing normal road users by our parliamentarians and MPs? Have they forgotten that they begged for the job? Have they forgotten that they actually went out to campaign, beg us for their mandate? And if they are there and feeling what the normal Ghanaian goes through, is it not within their mandate to ensure that these issues that the normal Ghanaian is belabored with are dealt with swiftly through some kind of legislation in parliament, instead of legislating for a siren? Why don't they legislate for bigger roads, for better financials, to make ease of movement better, not just for them, but for all Ghanaians? What is this attitude of always immediately you get a small bit of power, you enter the trappings of power, then you want to elevate yourself out of the problems that the ordinary Ghanaian is facing? The only way to true development is when you also feel what we are feeling. You're already riding in a V8, you don't feel the potholes. You're already not paying electricity bills. So you don't pay for petrol. So that is why if you find it easy to pass all manner of legislation that does not ignore to the benefit of the normal Ghanaian. If they had given all of those MPs diuticus or
not aware of the detailed requirements of LI 2180, which is actually the instruction for driving here in Ghana. So when I saw this issue about Parliament seeking to amend the LI to exclude themselves from certain parts of the requirements of this law, I found it very, very nauseating. One, because if you look at the provisions of the Act, of the LI 166, exemption from speed limit, it says 1. Provisions of Regulation 163, 164, and 165, which impose speed limit on a motor vehicle, does not apply to a motor vehicle when the motor vehicle is being used in the performance of official functions by the fire service, ambulance, police, armed forces, prisons, and other recognized security agencies. So these are the bodies that have already been covered by the LI. Why are we now seeking to add other persons to this? Because the purpose of this is to provide for emergency services. That is why the law provides this. So under what circumstances are the MPs, the Chief Justice, the Speaker of Parliament, and all those people being placed in here? I think it's purely a coercive thing where we want to create exemptions from the rot that we have created as leaders of this country. One, because if we plan properly, the traffic situation at Accra should be better managed. We don't create laws to exempt people from creating chaos. Look, if our districts and municipal assemblies were planning properly, the movement and the zoning of this country was done properly, the traffic issues can be taken care of. There is no need to create exemptions from these people. Look, the same things here that we see here, the rules they are trying to create, was what was created for our people in Kenya. And we see what's happening in Kenya today. I mean, why such impunity from our lawmakers? It is unacceptable. One, when you do this, what you are creating is that the implication that speed kills is nonsense. So all the adverts and the promotions that National Road Safety Commission is doing out there saying that speed kills, what you are saying is that you should be exempt and therefore you can drive anyhow throughout any part of this country. And for what purpose? If we all have to go to work, we get up early and we go to work. We drive through the traffic, we drive through the bad roads. Why should they be exempted from that? It makes no sense. And I think that citizens must begin to ask questions of their MPs. It is unacceptable. They have simply added all these other bodies to make it look like this, all the other bodies, and that is why we are also. But the MPs are 275, and they are sitting here in Accra and want to create traffic for everybody else and exempt themselves. It doesn't make sense. I also think that the security agencies are already not doing enough. If you drive on the, how do you call it, between the end of the motorway and Michelle Camp, see how the soldiers behave on that road. They behave as if it's their private road, which is already unacceptable. Policemen, prisons, and now we even have GRA, Revenue Collection Agency, wanting to drive through traffic. I mean, their behavior in this country is unacceptable. I think that citizens must rise up against this amendment that Parliament is seeking. We must not allow it to happen. It is unacceptable. That is my sincere position on this. You see, the question we need to ask is, how many times have they been called such that they have to be in Parliament within a matter of minutes? It makes nonsense of planning. You see, the whole idea is that the country must be run on a plan. Now, if people cannot plan their lives and think that they must run into Parliament just at the whistle, then it doesn't make sense. Nowhere in the world does this happen, where parliamentarians think that they are so important that they can be called and therefore they must rush to Parliament. What is urgent? Is there a life or death issue? I mean, the life or death issues have been catered for by the law, by the existing law. The life or death issues have been catered for. I mean, if you have to go and pass a bill, is there a life or death issue? Is it not a planned issue that we say, look, we are going to meet at this time on this day and we are going to pass a law? What is so urgent about that they need to drive without speed controls? I mean, it doesn't add up anywhere. I mean, what excuse can they make? You tell me sincerely. Because I listened to some of them being questioned yesterday, and I was surprised that they would want to make such excuses. I mean, it flies in the face of all of us and insults our intelligence. We shouldn't allow this to happen. I mean, this has got me so worked up this morning, I couldn't even sleep for most of the early parts of the morning. I mean, how? Because look, If you look at 166, and then you go to all the others, disregard for signs and 174, obedience to stop signs and issues like it makes room for all the emergency services. So why do MPs, Chief Justice, all this will have to be included in here? It doesn't add up. I don't think there's any agency to their life that warrants a change in this airline. And I think that all peace-loving people and all people who think that, look, safety is a major concern in this country should rise up against it. Look, already we have marauding motorbikes on this country. Every weekend, take note, go to Kolebu or Jamestown area, go and see what the motorbikers do there. They took over the streets. And everybody pretends, all the law enforcement agencies in this country pretend that they don't know what is happening. I mean, how do we run a country like this? And the police sit down unconcerned. And everybody pretends that they haven't seen the chaos going on in the streets of Accra. And we want to add more chaos to this. I think that it's unfair. Completely insulting to all of us who are on the streets of this country. As if we have nowhere to go, we have no work to attend to, and there's no sense of urgency.
Kosi Didnt speaking to us yesterday. Yes, the fact is they've withdrawn the law, but the anger still needs to be expressed, which is why I'm allowing these people to vent. If you don't let them vent, it may explode. So let the people speak, let them free their mind. It's part of democracy. So lots of comments coming in, and we just want to hear some of them this morning. Briefly, Caleb, run through a couple
Bernard,
of them.
I think hashtag drop that chamber issue in 2019 garnered more collective anger than this LI. Kudos to Ghanaians. We can accomplish a lot if we move beyond this NPP and DC party lines that divide us. Power Willie from Ashali Buttress. And that, Bernard, you were right about the patients put in taxis in Ghana. Patients who are carried in taxis in Ghana. I witnessed one when a police officer stopped the taxi at the barrier until the patient started showing signs. She died on arrival. Ernest Bernard Pecky. Sorry. Good morning, Bernard and team. In my opinion, we should start mentioning the names of the people on that committee who made the recommendations and the proponents of that anti-speed limit LI so that their constituents will know what they are doing to the citizens. Yofi from Jolu, send that through. Good morning. I am Eben from Kwabena. I am happy the LI exempting MPs, ministers and executives has been withdrawn. Why should we live in a country that some people will be living as if they are superhumans? All of us should be in traffic so they feel our pain and toil. Period. Regards to Eli Kulim. Okay. All right. Saying hello to them. Good morning, Bernard and team. Yes, we should not relax going forward. First class flight tickets should be reserved for select few going forward. V8 or SUV vehicles should be given to select few, etc., etc. Kofi from Ashoman Sender through. Good morning, Bernard and team. Kenyan MPs were decoupling their sirens to hide their identities. Please, let's allow them to fix their alarms so we can easily identify them when the time comes. Marissa from Tantra Hill sent that through. Bernard, these MPs are taking Ghanaians for a ride. You see how some companies have buses that convey their employees to work. We should introduce that in our political space. They are supposed to be servants, but these people have become more of lords. Apalaka, send that through.
Let me give you highlights of that interview that was granted by the member of the committee. This is subsidiary legislation. Is he the chairman?
Is the chairman of the subsidiary legislation committee.
So a minority member can chair that committee?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's
so that committee and then public accounts.
Yeah.
Chairman. So this is Dominic Aine speaking to Umaru Sanda on the...
And then also government assurances.
We call it the speed and siren LI. The speed and siren. The full speed LI.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I need to clarify something. I listened extensively to the clip that you played, regarding Mr. Speaker's statement this morning. The Speaker was right. There was nothing before Parliament titled MP siren legislation or subsidiary legislation to permit MPs to use sirens and then not obey speed limits. All right. The instrument that was laid was the Road Traffic Amendment Regulations. And Umaru, it is a very comprehensive set of regulations that the Minister for Transport, pursuant to the power granted to him under Section 133 of the Road Traffic Act of 2004. I think it's Act 683 was exercising. And if you look at 133, it has a comprehensive list of areas to be covered by legislative instruments that the minister will bring to Parliament. Now, in Parliament, the Subsidiary Legislation Committee is mandated by Article 11.7 of the Constitution to examine legislative instruments or subsidiary legislation that is brought, all right, against a defined set of criteria. First, whether they violate the Constitution or any other law in force, whether they are ultra vires, that is, made in excess of the powers granted the minister under the Mother Statute, whether they, offend the standing orders of Parliament, etc., etc. All right. So when the minister proposed to lay, he first brought the legislative instrument in draft form to the subsidiary legislation committee. Now, the committee, after extensive deliberations, made a number of proposed amendments to the instrument. And the reason why the committee was able to do that, despite what the Mr. Speaker was saying, and I'll come to explain why Mr. was saying you cannot amend. The reason we were able to do that is the pre-laying consideration. Okay? At the pre-laying consideration, members can make proposals, and we have done that, across various sectors. All right? The Energy Commission, for instance, last year brought us 23 instruments. We made extensive revisions because some of us on the committee are, experts in the areas. Some of us are lawyers. We know the constitutional, implications of certain provisions in regulations. We know the case law and can make the point that a particular regulation is, going to go against what the Supreme Court has said about, subsidiary legislation and so on and so forth. So we usually make very extensive, input. So at the pre-laying consideration, we, extensively ask that the instrument be revised. And Umaru, as I speak to you, I have on my desk here the instrument with my notes from page 1 all the way to the last page. Now, it is not as if when they came, this was an instrument about sirens and speed limits. The instrument covers registration of vehicles. It covers weight and the issues about the net weight, of vehicles that have to be registered, licensing procedures, speed limits, and so on. And so it's very, very comprehensive. But it also sought to amend Regulation 74 of the existing regulation. That is, LI 2180. All right, in order to exempt certain categories of officials, from the speed limits when their vehicles are fitted with a siren for purposes of being able to travel fast enough for purposes of an official function or the conduct of official business. Okay, of course, that included the presidency, the vice president, the chief justice and superior court justices, the speaker of parliament, then ministers of state and so on. Now, it was at that point in time that a member from the government side raised the issue as to whether, why MPs were not included in the list of people who are entitled to use the siren, and then not to, in the course of using the siren, not to, obey speed limits. And when it was raised, okay, around the table, all the members were of the view that if you take ministers who are drawn from Parliament, they are our colleagues in Parliament, okay? And so it doesn't make sense to say that they can, when they are in a hurry to get to an official function, they can use a siren and they are not entitled they are not limited in terms of the speed at which they can go, but that we are as parliamentarians limited. Okay, that was the argument that was made. Subsequently, as chairman, okay, I asked the ministry to take account of all the proposals that were made, including those that I as chairman also noted and asked that they should make substantive revisions to the instrument. Okay, that also included whether they will amend proposed regulation the revision of regulation 74 to add MPs to the list. All right. So I asked that they should, go back and consider all the amendments that have been proposed by the committee. And they went and did. Now, Umaru, when they did, they sent it back to the committee for us to vet every amendment that has been proposed. Okay, so it was not about sirens and speed limits. It was about everything that had to do with this particular instrument. So I had to, together with the secretariat, go through the hundreds of amendments that were proposed at committee and to ensure that those were, incorporated before the final instrument was laid.
I see.
So the minister took this back to the ministry, worked with the Attorney General, incorporated all the revisions, and then brought it back. So that is how come that the first video that you played, where Mr. Speaker was referring the instrument to my committee, if you go back, on that day, I had insisted, okay, that I have not seen the amendments that were suggested by the members. And then they said they had written to my secretary. So we got the instrument, we got the the letter and the instrument, and we went through before we came back to the floor and then said that they can go ahead with the laying of the instrument. So this is what happened. Now, when the instrument is laid under Article 11.7 of the Constitution, okay, it matures into law after 21 sitting days. And that's why Mr. Speaker was saying that when it is laid in the process, if we bring a report, which I was going to bring today anyway, if you bring a report and you even recommend that the instrument should be, withdrawn because there is something in there that Parliament doesn't like, you need a 2/3 majority of the members of Parliament to throw the instrument out. Okay? And of course, as Mr. Speaker was saying, in a hung Parliament of the kind that we have, even when we had in the 7th Parliament, a significant majority by the MPP, they didn't have 2/3 majority to be able to throw out, an instrument. Okay, so the point I'm making is that the workings of that committee, people have started, people said we were the ones who, brought an amendment. We didn't bring an amendment. The amendment of the road traffic regulations was brought by the minister, as is the case because once Parliament, passes an act of Parliament, Parliament then delegates the power to make subsidiary legislation, okay, or a legislative instrument, constitutional instrument
to appropriate institutions,
to appropriate institution, and when that institution brings it, it is laid, and then it takes 21, sitting days for it.
Have you seen a law that has been quickly, because it hadn't even got into the main plenary?
No, but everything showed that this thing will not stand the test. Last week I was at the function at Burma camp with some senior military officers, and I mentioned that there's a law coming, and made reference to this
one,
and then I also said to them that if they dare, we will do everything
to resist it.
Yesterday, one of them called me and said, is that what you were talking about?
Thank you.
Look.
But how could they miss it so badly? My question is, let me ask you a question. MPs, is it that, not just MPs, you know that this wasn't going to stand from the first day?
Oh, yeah.
How come they didn't know?
Some of them knew.
Okay.
Some of them actually believed that it was an exercise in futility. But you see, it's like people are used to taking the citizenry for granted. So let it be business as usual. Once we pass
You'll
it,
get away
let
with
it
it.
roll.
You'll shout a bit and then it will go.
But how can you craft a license for recklessness? Go and sit in parliament and design, craft, structure, license to be reckless on our streets. Go to Kolebu and see how medical doctors, surgeons are suffering because of recklessness on our roads. Even presidential convoys.
Are involved.
Only a month or two ago, policemen on dispatch riders died.
Yeah.
Because of the same thing. And you sit down and say, please.
From 3 to 4 to 300.
Bernard, I think they've got now they have the message. But let me also add, even those who have the permits, and I'm talking about the presidential convoys, they have the permits to drive, beyond the speed limit and do the sirens. They should understand that while they do that, the heat that was expressed yesterday is the kind of heat that people are harboring against them.
Okay. So when people see the convoy pass.
These days, when people see convoys, they don't want to give way. In fact, they try to. You see, people are angry at this.
So this becomes a symbol of the anger.
Yes. So they should read. They should read the mood of the people.
Right.
The first time we heard that, is it MPP or NDC that on the campaign trail they sit in a bus. They go and then they all move into a bus and then Baumia's people.
Well, it's the primary stand.
Yeah, see how people hailed it.
Maybe they should do that more.
See how people hailed it.
They should do bus.
You understand? That should give you. That should tell you. And tell me that when they sat in the bus, they never got to their destinations.
Thank you.
There are weightier issues that we should be minded to start dealing with. You know, we are a very poor country, and a lot of people are frustrated. The least thing you want to do is to create a platform of desperation that unites everybody. You are in trouble. We may have our differences, but look at what happened yesterday.
It was serious.
And you think that the people who called our opposition people...
No. Everybody was angry.
When the Kenyans were on the streets, did they ask them for their party cards?
No way.
Or their ethnicity? No. So politicians should understand what time it is. They should just know what time
even though you say the matter, so I want to go back to something because we played an audio yesterday of the war against indiscipline. Because that was, I think we are the only people who have an audio depicting the mindset of some of these people in relation to this issue. Because the police, Sasu, stopped the guy and was talking to his driver. The guy started shouting at the policeman. So Caleb approaches and then records the interaction and says, "Why are you shouting?" The guy was like, "Why is he stopping my driver? I am an MP." And then Sasu says, "No, I've not arrested you. I've arrested your driver. He was the one driving the car. Let me process him for court." And the man says, "No, because I'm working in the national interest." And he didn't know that he was being filmed. And so he expressed his real feelings in that voice clip, which has become the symbol of the war. But the reason I ask you to top comment is that it seems to me as if some of the people captured in the amendment saw that as an attack on them. And therefore, they need a law to prevent such embarrassment.
I think you couldn't have said it any better. Because for me, every conversation I've had regarding this topic in the last 2 weeks has made reference to the war against indiscipline and how, as they put it, members of parliament and politicians were embarrassed. Okay, and this feeling of embarrassment has been vented out onto the police hierarchy.
By the political class.
By the political class. Yeah. I mean, they will not admit it, but we know, we hear, we know what goes on. And they have pummeled them into submission.
So they are angry with the police for partnering with the media house to embarrass them.
Exactly. Which is what eventually led to we stopping this thing. Because we are not police. We don't even look like police people. We can't go and stand on the street by ourselves and start arresting people. Now, the police say that, well, we have our own way of doing it.
But they are doing it and it's not doing.
We have our own way of doing it, and they give all excuses. You know, and while they were giving the official excuses, some of the police were telling us the real issues. That look, the pressure we are getting from the top over this thing, you know, and if beyond that, even some of there's the risk that is some of the police people
were
who
facing
were involved were facing.
So like the policeman who's executing the issue, they want
give me your name.
You know, he said I'll call the IGP.
Yeah, he said
I'll call the IGP.
I'll call the IGP.
Yes,
but
and
you
the
see-
IGP won't pick the call anyway. At that time, he stopped picking the calls. But Charlie, if
It's
they
some way.
keep bombarding from all the proper quarters, you will budge, and that's what happened.
But do you think this will let them know and learn? Because I'm saying, because 2019 they wanted to build a new parliamentary chamber, and the same outcry came. Like people like, we are already over. You know, people. You see, and the MPs suffer wrongly because they speak. So sometimes when people are angry with the political system, politicians, ministers, the MPs would the first area. So to say you are going to build a new chamber. You remember there was a hashtag called "Drop the Chamber."
Yeah.
So it seems to me as if almost every 3 or 4 years they cook up these funny things, and then they want to test us.
But Bernard, building a new chamber by itself is not wrong. We had challenge with resources, the timing, and you know, to put it in context, what we are saying is that as for this license to be reckless on the streets, it is wrong. It is so wrong. Where you have countries like Rwanda, let Caleb tell you, Rwanda, you need a permit. For instance, if you have a foreigner and you live there, you have restrictions. Some cannot drive after 6 p.m. Some cannot drive outside of Kigali. And in Rwanda, people walk from here to Nsawam. If you are driving, you see the number of people who are walking.
Why?
That's what they do. That's how they do it.
And it's a mountainous area too.
People walk. You see, what I'm saying is that people are trying to create a more decent society.
And we are
replacing
ourselves.
the thing with speed.
Sometimes I was asking somebody, and I know this may not sound fair, but I want to do it. So I asked a friend to calculate how much a Land Cruiser V8 costs. He says right now, yes. So when you calculate, almost 1.9 million or 2 million cedis. Now we are not saying pushing into V8, okay? But I always give the example. We built a health facility at Mepe. Of course, the land was free, but the cost of the structure was, how much was it?
I need to check.
But it was, I don't think it was more than 2 million cedis.
No.
It was not more than 2 million cedis.
No.
It was not.
No.
Right? And that thing has an OPD, antenatal, maternal, dispensary, and we added 4 bungalows.
Yeah.
All below 2 million cedis.
Yeah.
In a community. So imagine. Now, and sometimes I want to make it easy for you. So if an MP has a 2 million CD V8, and there are 275, maybe 70 ministers have it. So let's add ministers to make it, maybe because some of the ministers are doubling as MPs. So let's make it 350. Add deputy ministers, so 400.
Chief directors.
So maybe chief directors, maybe another 450.
Heads of department.
So 500.
CEOs.
Hold on. Let's just leave it at 500. 500. Sky. Mepe is not a small town. Are you telling me that priority? We're not saying pushing into IVA2, but if we could build one health facility at less than 2 million cedis, multiply that by 500. Don't you have not nurses who say employ them? We didn't have a full doctor there. The place when they had a medical team that they put there, and you don't even need a full doctor.
A physician assistant.
A physician assistant with nurses. So you have nurses who say they've not been employed. If you can put up a health facility like the Mefe one in 500 communities, you think it's not better for Ghanaians?
Agenda 500.
You see my point? So sometimes our leaders should understand that we've given them privileges. We've given them privileges, and we expect that they will treat the business with urgency. You get it? This work we did helped us to see development at its poverty. He gave somebody 50 Ghana cedis a flood victim, 50, as if the man.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of poverty in the land, and our leaders need to understand that we have sacrificed to create comfort for them. So they should not just get up and do anything they want and talk down to us as if we are fools. That because you won an election means you have more sense than somebody. No. So they will bear the brunt of post anger because they are our representatives there. If the executive misbehaves, fine. But the legislature, we voted for you to go and be there for us. Most of the executive are appointed, apart from the president. The rest are his appointees. But the legislature are directly elected by the people. So you need to reflect the people's mood. That's why in certain countries, people can break away from their parties because they will say, on this matter, I am not voting for it because my people don't want it. And the party cannot do anything. That's when power belongs to the people. But here, we go and the party whips everybody into line. We have to take back even our MPs for them to vote on our behalf. Where they don't go to parliament and do what a general secretary or a chairman wants. They should do what the people expect, because sometimes you must take principal positions, not because your party has taken that line. That's the only way we can save this country. Because once you divide a thing on partisan basis, reason leaves the window. Because whether it's tax exemptions, whatever, once it becomes NDC MPP, the real issues get obfuscated. But if you say you are going to deal with the issues on the real basis, there are many issues that are very nuanced. And we expect our parliament to represent us. So don't say we are unfairly targeting you. We are not jealous of you. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Stop using politics to deceive yourselves.